History is full of moments that seem impossible until you realize they actually happened. Coincidences that go beyond belief. While many people insist there's no such thing as fate, history itself offers jaw-dropping examples that defy logic. Some of these events are so improbable, it's hard to believe they actually happened. But they did. And they've been recorded for us all to witness, reminding us that the world is far stranger than we often think. Some films don't just scare audiences, they terrify the people who make them. And in 1976, The Omen quickly gained a reputation as a cursed production. It started before the cameras even rolled. Actor Gregory Peck's plane was struck by lightning on the way to filming. A few days later, the film's producer, Mace Neufeld, also had his plane hit by lightning. And, according to some reports, screenwriter David Seltzer's flight was struck as well. 3 lightning strikes, 3 separate planes, all connected to the same movie. Then came the animals. A zookeeper was mauled to death by lions shortly after working with the crew. On another day, a stuntman was attacked by Rottweilers, even though they were supposed to be trained for the film. The most chilling incident happened after production wrapped. Special effects designer John Richardson, the man responsible for the movie's infamous decapitation scene, was in a car accident in Holland. His passenger and assistant, Liz Moore, was killed, decapitated in a way horrifyingly similar to the scene Richardson had designed. Richardson later claimed that when he crawled from the wreck, he saw a road sign nearby. It pointed toward the Dutch town of Ommen, 66.6 kilometers away. For some, it was coincidence. For others, proof that the Omen was haunted by the very evil it depicted. In Germany, one date keeps returning at moments of upheaval, the 9th of November. So often has it shaped history that Germans themselves call it Schicksalstag, the Day of Fate. On the 9th of November 1918, Kaiser Wilhelm II abdicated, bringing an end to centuries of imperial rule and the proclamation of the German Republic. Just 5 years later, in 1923, Hitler's failed beer hall putsch collapsed on the same date, the moment that set him on the path to power. 15 years later, 9 November 1938 became infamous as Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, when Jewish homes, synagogues, and businesses were destroyed in a state-orchestrated pogrom. But not every 9th November carried darkness. In 1989, it was the day the Berlin Wall finally fell. Crowds surged through the checkpoints, East and West Berliners flooding into each other's streets to celebrate the end of a divided nation. One date, 4 eras, triumph and tragedy, bound together on Germany's Day of Fate. The odds of being struck by a meteorite are estimated at 1 in 1.6 million. Most burn up in the atmosphere long before reaching the ground. But in 2011, one didn't. A small meteorite tore through the sky above France and came crashing down onto a house. No one was hurt, the only thing damaged was a roof. But here's the strange part. The family who owned that house were named Comet. A space rock hurtling through the void for millions of years finally makes landfall and lands on the Comet family. On September 11, 2001, as chaos unfolded in New York City, one man named Matthew found himself in the streets near the Twin Towers. He wasn't injured, but like millions of others that day, he witnessed unthinkable horror up close. That alone would be a once-in-a-lifetime brush with tragedy. But for Matthew, fate had another test in store. 14 years later, in 2015, he was in Paris, attending a concert at the Bataclan Theatre, when armed terrorists stormed the venue, killing dozens. This time, Matthew wasn't so lucky. He was shot, but somehow managed to crawl to safety. Plenty of people survived 9/11, others survived the Bataclan. But to survive both, 2 of the deadliest terrorist attacks of the modern era, is almost unthinkable. Yet Matthew did. The First World War claimed millions of lives, but in one cemetery in Belgium, 2 graves stand out. A coincidence so stark it feels deliberate. The first British soldier to die was John Parr, a 17-year-old who fell near Mons in August 1914. The last was George Edwin Ellison, killed on the morning of November 11, 1918. barely an hour before the armistice took effect. Both men were laid to rest at Symphorian Military Cemetery. Their burials happened years apart, organized by different units with no design in mind. Yet today, their headstones lie only yards apart, directly facing one another. The beginning and the end of Britain's war, forever staring across the same ground by chance alone. July 4, 1826. 50 years to the day since the Declaration of Independence was adopted, Americans filled the skies with fireworks. And on that same day, two of the men who signed it, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, drew their final breaths. Once allies, then bitter rivals, the two founding fathers had only recently reconciled in old age. Yet no one could have foreseen their story ending in eerie unison. Jefferson died at Monticello in Virginia. Adams followed hours later in Massachusetts. His last words were reportedly, "Thomas Jefferson still survives." But he was wrong. Jefferson had already gone. Two founding fathers, two signers of the Declaration, departing on the very day their creation turned 50. If history repeats itself, Robert Lincoln seemed doomed to witness it firsthand. He was the son of President Abraham Lincoln. And though not inside Ford's theater at the moment of the shooting, he rushed to his father's side and was present at his deathbed. Years later, as Secretary of War, he stood just steps away when President James Garfield was gunned down in 1881. And in 1901, fate placed him once again at the scene. He was at the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo when President William McKinley was shot. 3 different presidents, 3 assassinations, and one man who, by sheer chance, kept finding himself in the shadows of tragedy. Every so often, the moon passes directly in front of the sun, and day briefly turns to night. A total solar eclipse, one of the strangest natural spectacles we can witness. What makes it possible is a coincidence so precise it borders on the uncanny. The sun is about 400 times larger than the moon, but it also sits about 400 times farther away. The result? From Earth, their disks appear almost exactly the same size. By sheer chance, this alignment allows the moon to cover the sun perfectly, no more, no less. Astronomers call it a cosmic coincidence. Others see something far stranger in the maths of it all. Because in the vastness of space, with planets, stars, and orbits beyond counting, the odds of such a perfect overlap seem almost impossible. And yet, here we are, watching shadows fall across the Earth.
In fact, the American Astronomical Society calls our eclipses a cosmic coincidence.
Disk exactly covers the sun. And the chances of that occurring are so literally astronomically small. It's very disturbing.
And those were just a few of the strangest coincidences ever recorded. Were they truly random? Or is there something deeper at play? Patterns we haven't figured out yet. Either way, they remind us how unpredictable, eerie, and sometimes even poetic reality can be. If you enjoyed this dive into the unexplained, there's plenty more waiting, because you never know. Your next click might lead to the next strange twist.